global garters, and it looks like we have that. Because he'll guard anything, or just is uncomfortable with anything in front of him, I'm going to start with the object in front of me. And even though I'm going to approach, this is not part of the approach. Okay, so whenever, are you filming already?
I'm rolling now.
Okay. So here's very cute. So keeping in mind the order of events and the timing, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to go to him. Then I reach. Oh, what did I just do? What did I just do? And I'm going to come back to where I started and place it back in front of me. You're very cute. So what we're looking for is that happy, expectant look that when I pick it up, if I see that, oh boy, here it comes, then I can add approach. I pick it up, no reaches, no happy talk. Oh, goodness gracious. What did I do? Now I am giving several pieces at once, just FYI. The other option is to pick it up and put a few down and then put the object back down, and I can show you what that looks like now. I'm varying the intervals in between when I go in, so I'm not going in every 5 seconds. What did I do? Go. And back to the starting spot. He does just have that really curious, what are you doing? Trying to make it a little bit boring. Oh, his face is so delicious. This is the cutest puppy on the whole planet. Oh boy, and there's that tail switch. You guys such a tail switch, although I think he's been, good job, good job. He looks pretty comfortable, that's for sure. Little tail. He's the cutest thing. So the temptation right now would be to be like, oh, hi Clarence, you're so cute. We don't want a happy talk. We do only the happy talk, the good stuff, the food. It all happens after my reach and removal, okay? You're tempted to go, what a good boy. But we don't want to do that, okay? We can do it, we just don't want to do it in between. We want in between to be boring. See his tail stop moving, so. Oh boy, what did I just do? Did you see how it picked up the second I picked it up? His tail had stopped. So I'm gonna do a couple more. You guys have done a good job with this step over the last few days. It's really nice. Slowing down. I can kind of see it in my periphery. Oh boy, what did you do? What did you do? What's your place of foot? Yes, behind you. There it is. Do one more here. Then I'll probably go ahead and add some distance. So some dogs, when they start to develop a really good conditioned emotional response, a happy, oh wow, it's with their whole body. Their whole body will wiggle. It's clear that they're excited. For a lot of dogs, it's a lot more subtle. You might just see a swish of a tail or that brightening of the eyes, just a little bit. The brightening of the face is, that expectant look. So some of them have a pretty good poker face and it's hard. A lot of the time owners are much better at seeing the differences just because you live with them every day and you can always tell that stuff. Especially observant owners like you guys. What do I have? I always talk like a baby. I don't know why, I'm sorry for that. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and kind of add a little bit of approach. And that's how you can keep the camera right there. Well, maybe. So I'm about equidistance, so to speak. It's about halfway between us. I think that's what equidistance means. And now I'm going to add an approach. And then reach. He started swishing at the approach. He's good. Good job, good job. Go back to where I was, put it down, and go back again. And so watching this is sometimes a little bit like watching paint dry because the duration in between can be a little bit long. But I don't want to shortchange what we're doing. I want to make sure we're getting a good CER until you're so precious. So I approach, I reach and remove, I go forward, and then I reach into my pocket and pray. Can you get down a little bit? Oh, so good. Oh, so good. I don't have this one that's making me boil. And I keep a little bit more time. I think I'm seeing it. Just want to be sure. I'm certainly not seeing any worrisome body language. So there's no stiffening, there's no whale eye, there's no show of teeth, there's no, but to be fair, he wasn't doing much of that when I was started in front of him. He just immediately went, you know? So he didn't have super worrisome body language to begin with. So he's just, you know, see, that's a nice tail switch. I like that so much, so much, so much. Good job, you got it. You need some more. So now I'm going to start right a little closer to him because I do think that that relaxed tail swish, his soft eye, the position of his ears look good to me. I'm not seeing any discomfort with my approach and reach and removal. So I'm going to start, I think this is a little closer in front of him. Start. Right, this is quite a bit closer. But not within striking distance, which is really good. So let's see his body language when I reach down and pick this up. And again, and someone please correct me, because like I said, you could do 1,000 of these cases and you still have to remember not to reach. And you know, so please, if you see me reaching before I've removed the item, call me on it. Take one step. Good job, oh, so good, so good, so good. Isn't that fun? And again, now that I've moved closer, I still have the object in front of me and I'm still not right in front of him, but I start with the reach and removal before I add the approach in, okay? Since I moved it closer, now we just go back to reach and removal. That's every time we move the object a little closer in cases like this, reach and removal always comes first before we add that distance. Oh, so good, so good. Now, he is taking it, you know, a little hard. You know, but does he typically? I'm trying to remember from class. Is he?
It takes his food hard.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
We try to teach him like
soft.
gentle.
Yeah.
And
And that's the time to do it too. Like to hold it. Like normally, if I were doing regular skills training with him, what I would do is I would hold the treat, keep my tongue kind of tucked. Yes. So that there's nothing for him to really latch onto, and this, you know, let him until it's all lip.
Yeah.
Not release it. Like put it right at the mouth, and you can cue it with gentle, you know, and then you put it right at their mouth, and they might be a little bitey at first, but as soon as they stop biting and they're just kind of like mouthing, then you can release it. Like the second it becomes soft, release it.
He's telling me the time to like do because he's not the same way with like kibble.
Yeah, yeah, yep. And for things like this, for Pavlovian conditioning, when we do this DSCC, it's really, really, really important that the value of the food is higher. Even for this step, we're keeping the big stuff for when I'm right in front of him, because we want the first trial when we are right in front of him, even with a dummy object, because he's a bit of a global girder, so to speak. I want the first impression when it's in front of him and I remove it, I want it to be a big wow, sort of like our Pavlovian super special recall. You want it to be a wow factor the first time it happens. Good boy. Oh, so good, so Good. Oh, he's much softer now, which is good.
The only thing is even soft, if I'm using ice cube.
This is like, what is this? So I'm gonna put it in front of him again. That was soft and relaxed. I'm gonna move back with it closer to him so I can start adding the approach. And if he does really well with this, I'm gonna go ahead and start right in front of him, okay? Now there's lots of play we can do with this distance, who it's closer to, where I add the, when I both approach and when I start. We can move it around a lot. So this is kind of the standard, start with it and put it in the middle and then move it a little bit closer. But I don't think it needs to be much more incremental than this, just based on the way it's going. But for you guys to know, when we start going up the hierarchy, so to speak, of things that he will find more valuable. I mean, that's a dummy object, but for him, he guards anything in front of him. But it is going to be important when we go up to things like bully sticks, stuffed bones or Kongs, those types of things, that we really watch that body language, because we might need to be more incremental in our approach. We might not move as quickly to picking it up right in front of him, and we've got all this distance to toy with getting closer and closer. So if we need to, we can make that more what we call splitty. We can make it a little bit more, shorter distances. So let's see. What do you think? I just talked before I picked up. Act good. Not gonna ruin everything, but don't do what I did. You can see though, like how many cases like this, that not exactly with this, but I do a lot of resource guarding. I do a lot of stranger fear, and I still have to talk myself through and focus on what I'm doing. Because I will otherwise start to prepare myself too soon. What do you think of this, huh? Good job, good job, good job. Good job, good job. I'm just gonna know if I get some more treats real quick. And I might need to get some ham in my pocket. That will get a bag. That's gross. He's ready for it, like he's expectant. And that's the kind of the issue here. They catch on real quick, oh, we're doing this thing because of the training setup. That can make it a little, that's why it's a really good thing to, if you're using a treat pouch, wear it around outside of training time, sometimes reach in, lift things out, but don't provide any food. We call that an extinction trial. Because right now, things like bait bags, reaches into your pocket, sounds of crinkles, there's such good tip-offs that something good's coming. And we just want the approach to be. Okay, check that a little hard. So I'm gonna stay here for a while. I'm gonna stay at this distance for a little bit. He could be more perfect. If I had my phone on me, I would be taking a picture of this. It's really cute. I think I pulled that back a little further from him, and that's probably a good thing. Definitely snatching the food a little harder than he was. He had one nice, kind of really soft trial. And that could just be that he's excited that he's about to get food. Allison, can you bring me my phone? Over there. It's on the notepad. Thank you. He's just so perfect. Except for full resource guarding. Yes. Which is totally normal. You're so cute. Thank you. Oh, nice and gentle, good. Good job. So if you do start to see, as it gets closer, when we do start to see any body language or anything that might be a concern that the dog is less comfortable, we can go ahead and move right, back off right away. We always want to back off at the very first sign. And if you're not 100% sure, it's absolutely fine just to cut short your training session or take video and send it to me to evaluate. But I think it'll be good if we can do this together early on. You're so precious. I think we've got like a superstitious operant that he lays down. But that's what we've been working on in class so much, is our downstay. Yeah. It's very likely what's happening.
You did that at you're like sit, and then you try to repeat. So what do you want me to do, shake?
Yeah, yes. The more we teach them, like they go through their whole repertoire. How can I make food fall out of you? I know one of these things will work because it's worked in the past. And you'll often see it's whatever you've most recently practiced that they offer you. And if that doesn't work, then they'll go to the other, something else. You're very cute. Again, you don't want to do things like I just did. It's hard when they're so precious. Oh, so very good. So very good. That was nice and soft. I'm going to put it right in front of him and see how this goes. It's kind of at the end of his tether, so. And I'm going to be real careful this first time to make sure that it's going to be ham. Now, if I see him kind of, I'm keeping a nice, comfortable eye. He's relaxed. He's laying on his side. He's very soft face. And like his little mouth, he's got like a tiny dark mustache. I think Ruthie has that too. I'm just casually going to reach down, but I'm really paying attention. Oh, boy! Who's a good boy? Yeah, this is going to be a big deal. Who's a good boy? Oh, it's the ham. So good. Right back in front of him.
How was that? Soft?
Yeah. Well, I think the ham, with the first few bites, he was nice and soft, but then when I went to drop it down, he was like, ah. But I think it was because he felt like he was trying to catch it when it was going down. And after tasting it, he was like, this is amazing.
Got more of that?
Yeah, right. Now there's a bright, happy, expectant look, but I want to make sure that it's to the reach and removal rather than the fact that I just gave it to him. And he knows it's in my pocket. He's like, is there more? Is there more? He liked that, yeah. He's on his feet for the ham. Good to know when you need high value stuff, that because ham is actually much cheaper than steak or goat cheese. He's like, are you gonna do this or what? He's like, could you just do this? Well, let's see, Oh boy, what a good bunny! Oh, so good. What a good baby boy. There's more and more and more. He's like, that's a magical stapler. Now it has meaning. Now it has value. Well, we want to think it's the reach and removal that's magical. So we've removed the predictive value of the timing, so that's why we're not doing it every 10 seconds or every 5 seconds, because then the dog will, every 5 seconds I get food. So we've removed that. I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. I'm trying to be as conscious as I can be about my pocket reaches. The reason I struggle a little when I'm trying to demo and talk at the same time is because I'm not as focused on my mechanics. So again, if you see me reach before I've removed the item, call me on it. It's good for you guys to have that in your mindset. Just say, oops, I think you did that. Or like the academy where we'll tell people, you know, you did a great job of this. Next time, try not to reach until. Feel free to be delicate. Good job, yeah. How wonderful was that? Good job, good job. Oh, so good, so good.
We helped my mom not become a chanter.
Cue chanting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, you would be so proud of me. I said it once the other day that I just held it.
Oh, that's so great. That's a hard one to
Yeah.
get folks to do. Chanting, I think, comes naturally. And the other one that I find often in classes and even with private training, that you don't have to say it so harshly.
Yeah.
You know, that
I do that all the time. I try.
it's so you have to kind of retrain your brain, right? It's sticky because that's what they used to tell you. It was about your energy and your tone. So trying to kind of deprogram that. And in the end, if you're using positive reinforcement, so for Clarence, if you're like, Clarence, down, all he knows is, regardless of how you said it, if it's going to be followed with something yummy. So he won't have as much of a, you know, response at that. When I worry about it the most, it's with folks that aren't necessarily always using, you know, the least invasive or the least harsh methods of training. Usually it's used with, they give a stern cue and then a harsh correction. So that makes things a little tough. And I worry about it in puppy classes. Usually the puppy that, you know, the owners are doing that with has already realized that that harsh tone doesn't end up in something painful. It ends up in chicken, so who cares? They kind of like, it's kind of like they have a good CER to it, regardless of your tone. But the puppy next to you may not.
Yeah.
And that might be startling. So I try really hard. I don't get too crazy about, there's a few things that we want owners to really understand. Command tone isn't really at the top of the list, but you know, I do like people understanding we don't need to be so, we don't need to be harsh.
Call each other out on it.
Do you? Well, that is very good. So what we have is absolutely no concern at all about this reach and removal. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. So I'm probably going to go ahead and add some approach. Now, for some dogs, the approach is more triggering than the reach and removal. It really doesn't matter. We really want them to feel good about all three. But whenever you start to add approach, because we always start with the reach and removal in front of the dog, whenever you add an approach at whatever step you're on or whatever item you're using, just keep in mind to continue to watch that, or even more carefully watch that body language, because the approach might be an even bigger trigger. And also, we've already got a good CER to the reach and removal, a good happy response, a good emotional feeling. When we add approach, it's almost like starting from scratch, because now we have to add another element that can be really tough for dogs.
CER.
CER, yeah, conditioned emotional response. So just that happy, expectant look, that, you know, that, oh boy, I love when this happens. That look like they get when you're coming in to the house after a day of work when I can't wait to see you, or that look when you're about to give them a delicious piece of food. Or you present them with a new toy. You know, that kind of look. Now again, some dogs are going to have a more subtle appearance with it, and some dogs are going to be off the chain, like, I love this! You see that a lot with pit bull puppies and pit bulls in general. Like, the whole body is launches. So let's see how we're doing this. I'm keeping a close eye. He kind of sniffed my hand, but he didn't. And his tail's swishing and his eyes are soft and his ears are back. I'm not worried about what I'm seeing there. But, so if that were you, you may, you know, understandably say, I kind of put his nose toward my hand. So that's, also my hand smells like ham. It should be an affectation.
He does that sometimes a lot, when I approach
Yeah.
for things too, though.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And the good thing, he doesn't have any body handling discomfort, clearly.
Yeah.
You can, touch him anywhere, which is awesome. That's not quite as close in front of him as it was, but. He's looking at it like, do you see it? Come get it.
Come over here and get this thing or not.
Yeah, I don't. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah.
I think he's just coming in and looking at my hand. Don't think that it's a.
Yes.
I'll put it a little closer to him.
Yeah.
Of course, now that thing smells like ham. Oh, I just adore him. Let's take a picture break, Clarence. That's hilarious.
I hit the store, you know, one every other day.
And you take like 50 of the same shot because it's the best one.
Clarence with stapler.
Our colleague, Sarah Pennington, who, if you ever want to follow a good page, Yale Town Dog Training, she was a mentor and a colleague. She does this wonderful thing. We always teach watch or look, a focus behavior. She does this really great thing where instead of training watch, she'll teach us say cheese to the phone. So that anytime you put your, first of all, you can build duration to them looking right up at the lens, but because they also get that side effect, Pavlov is on your shoulder, they get that side effect of, oh, I love when the camera comes out. Yeah, the ears perk up, the eyes perk up, the tongue hangs out, you get these really happy shots. A lot of dogs get really uncomfortable with you sticking a phone, like a camera in their face all the time. They get that forlorn, their ears go back, their kind of head goes down. It's almost like, my Tucker does that. I don't know why I haven't taught him yet. Say cheese. You know, the cobbler's kids have their shoes.
What was that page name?
Yale Town Dog Training. And we can teach him this too. Yeah, Yale Town is, she's Sarah. Yeah, I'll write it down for you. She's wonderful. He's like, maybe if I tap my nose, I get sick. So I'm taking a real close eye. Good, yeah, I think he's just kind of coming in to investigate my hand. He's not. That wasn't very much. Let's make that even better, huh? Oh, so good, so good. Yeah, he goes to get a little snatchier, like a little more snatchy. That's, I don't know, a better word for that, grabby. This is probably better than snatchy. When I go to put it on the floor, because I think he thinks it's dropping, I'm trying to capture. That's not going to make it happen. He's like, what can I do to the stapler to make that ham happen? I love that he's like, no, he is exploring things and kind of strategizing. And
I'm pretty sure he like strategically tries to look extra cute
yeah.
for food. Like whenever we wash his bowl before he eats, he like comes and just lays right on our feet at the sink and looks up. We're like, oh my gosh.
Does somebody like his food so much?
Yes, so much.
Dogs do it works, even making themselves look precious.
Other dogs' food, human food. We don't give him anything, but somehow he knows what human food is.
Yeah.
He's like, you're eating something, let me have it.
Well, they just know food is there, yeah. And we always tell people, it's all food. You know, like people will say, there's like the old school vets will say, don't ever give your dog human food. And there are some foods that humans eat that are dangerous for dogs, raisins, macadamia nuts, onion type things like that. So it's good to know which ones they shouldn't have. But the idea that dog food isn't human food, it isn't because it's so low quality, you know. But if you look at the ingredients of your dog food, it's going to say chicken, peas, sweet potato, brown rice. You know what I mean? It's human food. I mean, it's just food. It's not human food or dog food. That's why I tell people for class, use chicken. It's going to be the least awful on the tummy. It's going to be high value enough because they don't get it all at home, you know. That it's going to help with those distractions of the other puppies in the room and people, and it's going to be easy. You know, the easy on the tongue is good, and it's also cheaper than getting store-bought treats.
Yeah.
So much cheaper and healthier. You know.
He could get a banana the other day.
The dogs like bananas, and if he likes bananas, think of that as a higher value treat too. Yeah. Anything that he doesn't get regularly, that's not part of his kibble, that is just elevated a little, is a little better. I would never be afraid to give like human food, just make it contingent on things you want to see more of. Remember that all that stuff is about probability. The more we rehearse the skill and the more we reward it, the more likely it is that they're going to do it when you want them to, as long as the rewards are valuable. That's a little bit of enough, I think. I don't know. Let's give it another second and see. I don't know. I think he just bopped his. He didn't put teeth on. He just kind of punched my arm a little, but very lightly. I just want to make sure again. I'll go a little slower and watch his body language a little better. Uh-oh, running out of your favorite. Checks for a while here. your paws are big. You're going to be a big bunny.
You think so?
I don't know. I mean, how old is he now? About 13 weeks, 12?
16.
Oh, is he
Yeah.
really?
15, I think.
Yeah.
What's it? Exercising?
I don't know how to do that stuff. Usually one of the assistant that you guys have, I think, is Alexa, right?
Yeah.
She's a vet tech. I'm sorry I was asking those questions. Because she listens to vets say it all day, so she's got a little better. I try to stay in my lane as a dog trainer. I never do the vet stuff.
It's a mystery. Fun to see.
Yep. I feel like that we have neutral here. I don't feel like we have a woohoo. Like I was seeing more of a happy conditioned emotional response, more of a oh yay thing. Maybe some more ham. I was seeing more of that early on, but with the approach, I'm seeing a little, I mean, at first I wasn't quite sure if there was a little stiffening, a little guarding when I was approaching with it right in front, but I think now we're at neutral, but I just want to, again, you can see with a dog that's not quite as expressive, it's a little harder to progress because you have to know where you're going to progress. It's okay to do extra. If there's ever a question, it's okay to do as many trials as you need. You just don't want to do long training sessions. Yeah, he just bopped it. So you know how when we're doing the training that we do in class to do skills like a downstay or a leave it or when we're doing walk arounds is a good example. I think he's more frustrated that I'm not making it faster. When we do those skills, you know how we move through the training plan. I always tell people if you get 5 correct trials in a row, push on to the next step. If you get 3 too bads, when you push on to that next step, if you have 3, please don't chew the stapler because it might hurt you. If we get 3 too bads, we drop back down to the last step. And if we get like 3 out of 5, we will do another whole set of 5. Well, that's our push, drop, stick rules in training when we're doing operant conditioning, when we're doing that consequence-based stuff. When it comes to this, our push, drop, stick is really, we're going to move on when we see a happy anticipation. We're going to scale way back. We're going to drop when we see discomfort of any kind or fear or upsetment. And we're going to stick when we really kind of don't see either kind of a neutral response, like, I don't really care that you're picking up. I'm not upset about it. I'm not excited about it. It's like, okay, I'm figuring this out. That's where we stick. So that's where I am here. I'm sticking. Because when I added the approach, first I thought maybe a little, I'm not sure. And now I'm just seeing kind of neutral. More than anything, he just wants me to come and pick it up. He wants the hand to happen. But that tail's swishing and it's nice and like happy and low. And most important thing is that he learns that what's making the ham happen is our approach and reach and removal. He's ready for a break, so, and let's do that. Let's go ahead and shut off and give him a little bit of a break because he may want to run around.